Today I have Hillary Raymer back. She is author of the Faven Saga as well as the Starstorm series, which I haven't read Faven. I've read the first of Starstorm, All the Case of Constellations. And when she told me the last time we chatted that she was working on her sex fae book, I was like, sign me up immediately, please. And I reached out to get an ARC copy of Lore of the Wicked Wood. We have crazy ass woods. We have a sex fae magic. We have a dark mystical carnival, no circus, all the things. And just the way she writes these scenes, my brain thoroughly enjoyed it. So I hope you enjoy this discussion. Welcome to Busy Reading Romantasy, a video podcast that discusses books that merge elements of romance and fantasy while occasionally exploring other genres. We get to escape our world and dive deep into themes of good versus evil, power dynamics, and all of the delicious taboo topics. Curiosity and open-mindedness are a must. That being said, this is a podcast for mature audiences only and will contain spoilers. Your mental health matters, so be sure to check the trigger warnings of each book to decide if this is the right episode for you to listen to. Now, let's get into today's episode. It has been a while since we've chatted. What have you been up to? How's your summer been?
Summer's been good. It's been busy, especially with the girls going back to school. Um, but I mean, I'm releasing two books this year. All the Painted Promises came out in June, and then Lore of the Wicked Wood comes out at the end of the month. So it's been busy. I'm just like, doing all the things, working on writing the books that I want to publish next year. So
Yeah. Oh, that is exciting. And you're telling me you went to Disney over the summer? How was
did.
that?
Um, So I love Disney. Like I'm a huge Disney fan. And we used to live in like the Tampa area and we had annual passes and we went in June, like right after school got out. I'm like, it'll be fine. I can handle Florida. Like I used to live there. I was wrong. I was
Fair.
not. I lost my acclimation. It was really hot. Um, my girls are older. They're 11 and 17, and we still have like full-blown like toddler style meltdowns sometimes because like they were hungry, they were hot, they were tired. Um, like in all of our pictures, like I just look like a mess. Like my face is red, I'm like gross. My 17-year-old looks like she just got off a catwalk. I don't know how she did it.
Right, how they glue it on.
Her makeup is flawless, and I'm just like, what is happening here? Teach me your ways. But
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, so that was fun. And then we did the Outer Banks in like August, which was
Yeah.
like, the polar opposite of Disney. It's like, let's go to the beach. Let's have some drinks on the back patio. Let's go watch the sunset. Very relaxing and calm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Florida gets us all at one point or another. I realized I've reached a new achievement as someone who's lived here, just over 10 years now. Granted, I lived here on and off as a kid, but this is like the longest time that I've stayed here. But this weekend, was the first time that it dipped under 75 and it
Woohoo!
got to like 72 and I was like, is this a little chill? Like I
Yeah.
could put a sweater on right now.
Yeah. Well, so I remember when we lived there,
Yeah.
we got invited to a wedding over the 4th of July back in Virginia.
Yeah.
And so me and my husband went, my parents came down and watched the kids, and they had like a little like an evening thing before like the festivities or whatever. And it got to like 70 and I had goosebumps. Like I was
Yeah.
cold. And I was like, I need a sweater. They're like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I'm living in Florida. Like,
Yeah.
this is cold
Yep.
weather. So
Absolutely. My dad lives in Alaska and he's been working in Europe over the summer and he's coming back and he's like, you have to come visit us. And I was like, no, like maybe in the summer, but like
yeah,
I can't go from Florida to Alaska in winter. My body is like, no. And he's
that's
like, it's all in your head. And I'm like, no, no, it's not.
no, it's not. Yeah, we had a really cold Virginia had a very cold winter this past winter, like
Yeah.
down into like single digits, which we don't ever
Wow.
get.
Yeah.
Um, it got very, very cold, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I didn't sign up for this. Like, this is
Yeah,
not
yeah,
the
yeah.
kind of winter I'm used to. Like, why is the air hurting my face?
Yeah, it's rough. I there was like one winter in Alaska where we were hit like negatives, and I
Ooh,
was like, it's once you get past a certain point, I'm like, it's just cold. I don't think my
yeah,
body registered how much colder it was
yeah,
after that, but yeah, I was like, I stopped feeling my toes about an hour ago. Should I be
yeah.
concerned? But
Everything's
fun,
numb. It's fine.
yeah, yeah, it's fine. Um, fun times with
Me too.
the weather as always.
Always the weather.
We are here today to talk about Lore of the Wicked Wood. I am so excited for this. The moment that I heard that you were writing this book, I have been eagerly awaiting. I'm just curious because I know we talked about it the last time I had you on,
Mhm.
and just how long have you had this idea? How long has it been in the works? Bring us up to like getting to finally get it published.
I have been working on this book, or have had it in like the back of my mind, probably since like the fall of 2023, give or take. I like would lovingly called it like my sex fae book for a while because I knew
Mhm.
like I wanted to have like the male main character was gonna like that was gonna be his magic. He was gonna have sex magic and it was gonna be great and amazing. Um, and then it was just a matter of like slowly building it up. I had to finish the Faven saga first. And then because that was like so dark and gritty, I was like, I need something light and fluffy. And so then I started Starstorm.
Mhm.
Um, but I finished lore last year, so I've had it done for a while.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
my alpha readers have had it done for a while, beta readers have had it done for a while. Um, and I think I've had it done since like last fall, so it's been finished for almost a year. And I've just been like sitting because I remember I got the covers at Romantasy Con in Orlando
Mhm.
last year, so
Mhm.
it's been done for a hot minute. Um, and then I knew that I was gonna do I knew that I was gonna release all the Painted Promises in June, which I did. And I was like, you know what? I don't like, I like to try to release at least two books a year if I can. Um, and so I was like, let me just go ahead and drop lore now. That being said, it is my longest book to date.
Mhm.
Um, it's almost 150K, which I know isn't long compared to like some authors, but that's a lot for me. So that book two probably will not be done until like spring 2027 because I have a lot to do in
Fair,
that
fair.
book.
Yeah. It's it cracks me up because I've noticed as writers often give length in word amount, and I think as a reader, like my brain just doesn't calculate that. And I'm like, oh yeah, knowing that I just read this book in like 3, 4 days, and I was like, ooh, I love it. You
Yeah,
know?
so it's hard because I know like especially like readers will be like, "Oh, you know, it's chapter whatever," and I'm like, "I don't know what that means."
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean it's chapter? Like, I have to like go look, or I have to remind myself that it's funny you say that because I have to remind myself that readers are like they either go by like chapters or like page length, and then
Yes.
authors go by word count because
Yep.
that,
Yeah.
you know, does all the things for us.
Yeah.
So,
You're like actually in the section of like, around 70,000 words where
yeah.
they're like, so
So,
chapter.
so the paperback, and I only know
Yeah.
this because someone just asked for it. The paperback version is 427 pages.
Wow. That is wild to me after reading the ebook version when you have no concept of size of book.
You're like, oh, so many hours? This is fine. I can.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, this is delightful." Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfectly. Um, awesome. So, as always, I like to give kind of just like a little synopsis for anyone who hasn't yet read the book. And then, if you watch this, I like to say, if you haven't read the book, stop here and then go read it and then come back and join the conversation because it's just going to be spoilers. We're going to get into it and explore it a bit deeper. So, just on the off chance that someone hasn't yet read it, could you give us a little overview of what this book is about?
I'll do my best.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. It's been very hard for me to like have a solid pitch for this book. I don't
Yeah.
know why. I think it's because it's so different from anything else I've written. Like I've
Yeah.
got Faven down, I've got Starstorm down. I'm like, it's this. So the best I've come up with for now is imagine like a sinister Cirque du Soleil, um, and a story that's like steeped in like Slavic folklore with like fae and witches and vampires, and there's a force that devours villages, and your female main character controls pain, and your male main character controls pleasure, and they have to work together um, to basically save the immortals that are vanishing. So that's all I've
That
got. It's crazy. I'm working on it. It's not. I can't. It's
No,
hard to sell. I can't even sell it to myself. I'm like, this is fine.
no, I think that's great because if you were to ask me to describe it, I think the way that my brain just when you read it chronologically and you're like offshoots and you're like, "Oh yeah, and then there's this dark carnival
Yeah.
situation, but then there's the woods."
Yeah. So it's tricky. It's tricky to
Yeah.
pitch. I think I've tried to do it as like, or I'll say like, oh, it's kind of like Caraval, but like more sinister.
Yeah.
But then I found that like a number of people, like I was at a local book event this past weekend, and I tried to describe it as that, and a lot of people have never read that. So then I was like, oh,
Oh,
well,
okay. For for the
okay
people who
then.
have.
Yeah, some people have. It's kind of like that, but it's like
Yeah.
spicier and stabbier, and there's vampires and witches and fairies. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I as someone who loves that series as well, I think that's a great explanation, and you
okay,
do
good.
get that, like, sinister feel, but you're like but
Awesome.
it is very much, like, glamour and in your face and all the lights and fun at first. You're like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
not great."
And then it goes,
Uh,
"Whoa."
yeah, absolutely. Um, I know you said it's longer, but I'm just curious, how like the difference in writing this book versus your other two series.
Um, so like my Starstorm books are roughly 102,000 words, 110. I think all the Sacrifice of Shadows was maybe like 108,000 words, which I know doesn't mean anything to like
Got
readers.
it.
Um, so like, okay, so for example, like, I'll show you. Um, okay, so this was my longest book, originally, which is Throne of Dreams, and that's book 2 in Faven. And then this is All the Chaos of Constellations, and then this is Lore of the Wicked Wood.
I see.
So you can see like how much larger it is. And these are all the same like size. They're all 5.5 by 8.5. So, but process, like, just make sure, are you wanting like process wise or just like,
Either, yeah.
um, I mean, I wrote them all very similarly. Like I wrote them all by hand,
Mhm.
which I'm trying to get better at because I have realized that is not the best use of my time
Fair.
to write in my hand. So I'm kind of trying to do more like right now I've got like for Starstorm 4, I've got like little bubbles, like this is what I want to have happen, as
Mhm.
opposed to like, pages and pages of like, dialogue and this is happening, just being more condensed. But I still use my post-its over there
Mhm.
on the wall. Those are necessary. But I mean for the most part, it's all a very similar style. I'm just trying to work smarter, not harder now.
Mhm. Fair.
So, but yeah, but writing process wise, it's all very similar.
Yeah.
And it's been great because I've been tying them all together. So there's like overlap. So there's like glimpses of like Faven and Starstorm inside lore, which I've been planning for like forever.
Mhm.
So it's
I
fun.
did
It's fun
I
to slowly weave it together.
Yeah, and I did notice that, and I wanted to bring that up as well of the little bits that, you overlapped because I realized, "Oh, I definitely need to go back and read all of Faven. I haven't read any of those ones, and then catch up on the Starstorm series as well. To I feel like just more appreciate those little nuggets. But yeah, do you want to talk a little bit of what that crossover was?
Yeah, so at the very end of the Theban saga, the final book is void of endings.
Mhm.
And like the main character's brother is there, and they're like fighting this huge war. And they're like, it's like the end of the world, kind of, well, the end of their world, like you think they're gonna lose, you're not sure they're gonna win, and then finally like people come. And some of those people are um Drake Calstrand from
Mhm.
Brackroth, who's in All the Sacrifice of Shadows, and that's Starstorm 2. And then um you see like these druids from Windfire, and they show up. They're going to show up in Starstorm 4. So I'm kind of like slowly weaving all the things together. um there's there's this poison kind of thing that's being used, and there are these like siphoning tools that can only be found in Prava, which is where Lord of the Wicked Wood takes place. And so they're
Mhm.
all kind of like, so all these pieces are slowly like, there's a witch who makes them, and you know, the main character from Faven, Maeve, her brother is like obsessed, like loves this witch. And so you can slowly piecing all the things together. It's fun. It's been really fun to do. Um,
Yeah.
it's like I always tell myself that like my toxic trait is that like I try to act like Taylor Swift and like plant these Easter eggs for my readers,
Yeah.
and then none of them figure them out, and it's fine. I know they're there, but sometimes when they do, they're like, "Oh my God, wait!" And there's it could be something as simple as like the name of like people just like lost their minds in my Discord yesterday because there's this shop in Lord of the Wicked Wood called Belladonna's Atelier,
Mhm.
and it's like a cute like witchy shop, and there's like crystals and stuff like that. Well, you first hear about that shop in, I believe I'm pretty sure it's mentioned in Crown of Roses, like book one. It's
Mhm.
either that or it's Throne of Dreams book two. It's one or the other. So then to finally be, and then people are like, wait, that's like, isn't this the name of the store where Maeve did blah blah? And you're like, and they're like, oh my God, it is. So it's like fun to like watch them like, that light bulb moment. It's
Yeah.
great.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was definitely me when what was his name? The brother that Everin was like flirting with,
Oh,
and then
Tobian.
Atlas. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
that whole crew came in, I was like,
Hmm.
these
And
names.
it's great because they talk about spoiler again, they
Yeah.
talk about her rejection of him in All the Painted Promises. Like they talk about how like because they
Gotcha.
come back in that book from their
Yeah,
adventures, and so they're
yeah,
like, oh, we went to this place called Prava, and there was this Fae, and like Tobian fell in love with her, and she rejected him, and they're like, he left you for a prince, that she left you for a prince, it's fine. It's like a whole
yeah, yeah.
a whole thing.
Oh,
But yeah, so it's
amazing.
fun.
Okay, so now it's my homework to go back and catch up, and I think, that's the nice thing too when there are a number of books that are already published, because I think that makes a difference too when, like, just details are more relevant and more fresh in your brain
Yes.
to be able to connect the dots and be like, "Ah, yes, I've heard of this before." Um,
And it's
yeah,
fun because I feel like sometimes I need to remind people, I'm like, it's not a plot hole. I'm like, it just hasn't been like dealt with yet. Like
exactly. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not,
yeah.
yeah.
You're like, "Hang
So
on, just wait."
yeah.
Um, Opening it up to just the whole entire book, what was one of my favorite questions to ask authors is, what was your favorite scene to write, and what was most challenging and why?
Okay. My favorite scene to write, um, I have to like think about it because I wrote it a while ago. Um, I would say my favorite scene to write is probably where when it's probably inside the Mystic Obscura when Everin's on the dart wheel.
or
Mm.
the knife throwing wheel,
Mhm.
and Atlas has to throw the daggers at her because she's like she's pumped and she's reckless and she doesn't care, and he's like losing. He's very calm and collected, but he's like losing his mind over having to
Mhm.
like throw these knives at her.
Mhm.
That was probably my favorite scene to write. The hardest part um for me was writing a villain that my readers don't think they can fix.
Mm.
Like like Yarick is he is not a good guy. He is not fixable.
Mhm.
He is a bad guy. We don't want him to. He's not like Drake,
Yeah.
Um he is like evil through and through. Um so yeah, so that was the hard part, is making sure like I don't want to be like, oh, I can fix him. Like, no, you don't want to. Like, this is not the one you want to fix.
Yeah. For me personally, I think you definitely achieved that because it is like that's the common theme is you get the like bad boy and you're like, who? But wait, I kind of like this. And I will say throughout this book, I definitely did not like him.
Okay,
He was
good.
not a fan
I was
favorite. So
hoping, I
definitely
wanted him to
achieved.
give like, I wanted in the beginning, like when she's
Yeah.
calling him skulls and stuff like that, I
Yeah.
wanted him to have that effect, and then I wanted like his true colors to slowly start to show. And like so we're like, wait, no, this guy is like actually evil and kind of gross, and like
Yeah.
I want him to give you the ick.
For
So
sure. Definitely giving like, ooh, yeah, let's not encourage
yeah,
this one.
yeah,
Absolutely. And I would agree the knife throwing scene is one of my favorites too, and how afterwards he's upset. He's like, don't do that anymore, and he like
yeah.
throws her
Like,
over
don't
the
ever do that to
shoulder.
me again. Yeah, that's
And
great.
then naturally just what happens afterwards on
Yeah.
the whole situation. Yes. I wanna applaud you. I think one thing that I really love about your writing, especially the other book that I did read of yours, the last conversation we had, um, which is All the Chaos of Constellations. Your writing, your ability to create these pictures and these scenes in my mind stand out so well, especially in the Mystic Obscura, and you have the main character Everinne who's like dangling from chandeliers, and then she has all these like awesome outfits, and like
Yeah.
before you're sickened by the whole thing in the front half when you're still kind of like enjoying
Yeah.
it. Is there anything um I don't even know what my question is. But, like, is that something that you have always just done quite naturally, or is that something that you've really like worked on? Is like painting
In
these
terms of like
scenes?
the descriptions,
Yeah.
yeah. So for me, I feel like that's kind of always been kind of natural.
Mhm.
Um, I don't like to read books with heavy descriptions. I don't
Yeah.
like to read books that are bogged down with like lengthy paragraphs where they're describing, like every detail. Like
Mhm.
I want to be able to use some of my imagination.
Mhm.
So unless it's something very specific that I want the reader to remember for a reason, I will just, I'll either try to keep descriptions like on the shorter end, or I'll weave them in while the characters are having conversation. Like they can say
Mhm.
something like, while she like, leaned against an ivory column, and they're like, oh, there's columns, and it fills in, in your
Mhm.
mind. Like that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, that's such a good point because I do know that there's been a few times where I will read like a more lengthy description, and they're like, when they enter a room and
mhm.
it's all like elaborately decorated, and they're talking about what color the curtains are or whatever, and to a degree, sometimes my brain is like, yeah, I don't and just keep going. Like,
Yeah, I feel
what are
like
they gonna do?
the last thing I want is for my readers to skim. I
Yeah.
don't want them to skim.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, I think it I would love to see this book made into a movie. That would be fantastic. Just the way that I think my brain pictured it, and like you said, filled it in myself, and it was a delight.
oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah. That being said, switch tabs here. I want to talk a little bit about our main characters here. We have Everinne, who ends up being known as, the Princess of Pain, versus we have Atlas, who is, dubbed the Prince of Pleasure, and just kind of their dynamic and how that flows throughout the book, as they obviously start off not too fond of each other, and then
Right.
things change.
Yeah, so they have an interesting past.
Mhm.
It's kind of like one of those things where, so in the book, Atlas is Everinne's brother's best friend. So
Mhm.
that's like that instant, like, off limits kind of trope, we don't go there. Um and I won't say what happens, but something happens.
Mhm.
And he like humiliates her. Um and he never apologizes for it, and she hates him for it. And it's like a whole, so that's kind of like the basics of their like their dynamic.
Mhm.
Is they just, they throw insults at each other. They, take the insults, with whatever. That's how they, like, that's like their banter. But beneath all of that, right,
Mhm.
is that underlying tension, because obviously, Atlas is like obsessed with her in a good way. And he's also very much aware that, also spoiler, he's very much aware that she's his mate, and she does
Mhm.
not know. I mean, he
Mhm.
knows. Um, so I feel like that's very hard for him, and it becomes like there's, this line is drawn because he's made this promise to her brother, to protect her, like, and
Mhm.
like, even from himself. Where, but he's like, but at the same time, he knows that, that she's supposed to like be his. And I think
Mhm.
that's really hard for him to, like, to grapple with. And then with her, um, she doesn't want to love him, and she's doing everything she can to protect him, for her own reasons. And then when they're forced to get married, I feel like that's when, like, the whole, like, can of worms, so to speak, is just like, opened.
Mhm.
Um, and she lies, to protect him, and all that stuff. So, but I love their dynamic. I love writing their tension, like the banter between them. Like, one of my favorite scenes to write is like after she was being like super flirty with like the Starstorm brothers,
Mhm.
and she like bolted from the palace. Um, and he goes after her when he catches her and he, like, flies up with his wings and stuff, and she like
Mhm.
screams, and he's like, that's right, scream my name again. Like, that was one of my
Yeah.
favorite things to write. I loved it so much.
Yeah.
I loved
Yeah.
it.
That was definitely a great moment. And I think one of the moments that stood out for me too was when he genuinely hurts her feelings, and she calls him out saying, we do this and we've established this, because he was calling her out for her impulsive behavior, and how,
Yeah.
she was drinking a lot to combat, nightmares and stuff like that, and maybe sleeping with men or getting attention.
Right.
And she calls him out because he actually, like, kind of crossed the line, because she was like, because
Right.
I know you, and I know, his reputation for sleeping with all the women, and actually him, not.
Not.
So
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I thought that was a moment that showed us a lot more of both of their differences of how they're perceived and who they actually are.
Actually are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
um
loved writing that one too. So.
yeah. Yeah. Before we continue on to kind of more of the second half, as things start evolving and naturally crashing and going downhill, can we talk a little bit about, I don't know exactly how you say his name, Veros, her brother?
Paris. Mhm.
Veros, yeah. Can you explain his power a little bit more?
Yeah. So Veros, I actually had a reader ask, she's like, well, why is he a lord and Everyone isn't? And it's because I probably have to like get more into it in book 2, but he's been appointed. That's
Mhm.
why.
Yeah.
Because he's Atlas's best friend, and because of his magic. So Veros um controls time. He can walk through time, he can see the past, he can see the future. He can like manipulate time to like slow things down or speed things up, but he cannot change anything.
I
And
see.
so what he knows is what he knows. So like he knew all along that Everinne was Atlas's mate. He knew how everything was going to go down, and he can't change it. He can try to like say things to like sway their choices, but in the end, they're going to do what they're going to do, and fate is fate, and he can't change like stuff.
Yeah, that's gotta suck.
Yeah. So actually, what's fantastic is, okay, I'm going to tell you because no one's picked up on it yet.
Fair.
Huge, massive spoilers. So at the very end of Void of Endings, which is book 4, the final book in the Faven saga, Maeve is with her brother who's passed away. And she's in like an alternate plane, like she's shattered their realms, and so this is where she's at right now. And they're like walking through all these worlds, and you see glimpses of Prava, and you see glimpses of, Aramir, where Starstorm is, and there's a couple more they can't talk about yet, but it's fine. And you see all this, and then she's sitting there, and two of the other characters like come through, and they're like, you've got to come back. And the one, she's like, I forget the title I gave her. I think I called her like the guardian of, I think I called her the guardian of the realm, something like that, whatever. She's the guardian, and she's like, we've got to go. He's going to get really mad, whatever. And the she's talking about is Everinne's brother.
I
Because
see.
they're messing with time. And no one's figured that out yet. And it's fine. It's fine. But I'm like, I'm a mastermind. Somebody pick up on it.
Yes. Oh, that's super cool. I love. Okay, I'm immediately I'll go get the rest of the books so I can catch up on this. Yes.
In my
Okay.
head, I'm
Cool.
like, I'm brilliant. No, it's fine. No one's picked.
I
It's
see.
fine.
I picture the like memes when it's all the math equations going across the screen. Like that's what I see. You're like,
that's what it's like in my head, but with words.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Oh, that is so cool. I've always kind of wondered how authors did that so seamlessly, of all the Easter eggs and such like that, and just putting like the pieces together. And it sounds like you're just clear. You're like, well, that's just what it is. So
I mean, it's crazy because a lot of it's just in my head. Like,
yeah,
it's just in my head. Like, I don't have a proper like world like story Bible.
yeah.
I should, but I feel like I'm like so far in it now. I'm like, well, I want to go back and I mean, I probably will have to eventually. I just don't want to. I'll probably have to reread my books and do all that. But yeah, I feel like it's a subconscious thing.
Yeah.
Where when we're writing and we're like, oh, this could be used later, and then later comes around and we're like, I did this. I can tie these together. And then we do.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, it seems kind of like you have all the puzzle pieces, and like like, oh, okay, something can go right here, and then eventually you just are able to
beep, and just
right there.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, so I was so overtaken by Atlas and Ever getting together and them cheering them on essentially. And then I was like, oh yeah, it's called Lore of the Wicked Wood. Where's the Wicked Wood gonna start playing in here? Can you talk a little bit more about your inspiration around that and having this like evil, like sentient wood?
Yeah. So it wasn't like that in the beginning.
Okay.
I actually, the original title for Lore was Beneath the Spellbound Sky. That's what I was going to call it, which is still in there. That phrase is still in there, so I didn't take it out. But the more I started writing it and like researching, like folklore and like, you know, monsters and like all the like dark and like, you know, the things that go before the night, like very much like grim fairy tales type stuff.
Mhm.
The more I was like, that title is too pretty for this book. And I think where it really hit was when I decided to incorporate the flesh players, and I was like, okay, it was one of those moments where the story started taking over and I was just kind of like along for the ride.
I see.
Um, and so then I changed the name and changed the whole vibe.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Terrifying,
yeah,
by the way.
like the Mystic Obscura was always going to be part of it.
Yeah.
But the woods, um, I don't know, they fit and everything. Just I really enjoyed writing them, even as creepy as it was. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's where, I think it's when, um, somewhere between, like, a third of the way to a half away, whenever we get kind of more of Ever's backstory with her
Mhm.
parents, and very casual, like, yeah, so the wood swallowed them, however you
Yeah.
want to picture it, I guess. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, so again, it's called Lore of the
Lord
Wicked
Wicked
Wood.
Wood, yeah.
Like that, takes part of it. You also mentioned earlier, because I was gonna ask this, and I realized, like, it was one of those things where had we not been speaking, I would have absolutely like Googled and looked it up. But you mentioned at the beginning, because I was like, oh, I'm gonna talk to Hillary. It's fine. I'll just ask her. You mentioned that there was Slavic influence. What
Yes.
was the decision there? Do you have a connection to that, or what was that
I
choice?
I don't have a connection to it.
Okay.
I've just always been fascinated by it.
Yeah.
Um, my personal background is more Irish with like it's like I'm like a mess of things. It's fine.
Fair.
But like Faven is more Celtic folklore.
Yeah.
And with when I was writing lore, like I started needing like ideas for like I just wanted it to be different.
Mhm.
And I started, like I started looking up, like monsters and creatures from like different kind of like, like folklores and stuff like that. And the Slavic one was the most intriguing. And it fit really, really well with like because I based Prague. I based Prava on like an
Mhm.
old world Prague is what I did. So
Gotcha. I
like
see.
so it's got like that old world vibe, but then it's got like that dark kind of like undercity, and it's got, like a club scene. Like that's like what I'm
Yeah.
picturing in my head. Um, and so because of that, I just started to lean towards more like when I was like researching and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, like with like especially like with the vampires and the witches and like the demons and the stuff like that. So that's
Yeah.
where most of that was pulled
Yeah.
from.
Yeah. That's super fun. I love my grandpa dearly, and he's one that raised me on he is fascinated by learning little bits of language for so many different, places and pieces and stuff like that. And so it's always been, if you go to our like chat text history, half the time he's like texting me things, and like I might not know exactly where it's from or what it says, but I know enough to like connect the dots context, and I'm like, okay, yeah, he's like
Yeah,
saying, hey, what's up or something. um
that's cute.
so this was super exciting because it was something that I wasn't familiar with, and so it's like, oh, like, and I love how you just, when authors in general just kind of substitute little words here and there, because then obviously through context clues what they're talking
Yeah.
about. But I was definitely curious kind of what the inspiration behind that was. So yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So moving a little further along through the plot, I kind of always refer to it as like setting the chessboard when all of the pieces start to move and click together, and you're
Mhm.
like, oh, something really big is
Something's gonna
happening
happen.
here.
Yeah.
Um, what I guess if you just want to walk us through a little bit about some of the pieces that start to unfold in terms of the blood oath at the mystic, and kind of the trouble, and also what ends up happening with the woods, and then obviously the king is another layer that's involved in this. Ugh, didn't like him either at all. But yeah, all those pieces starting to fall into place.
Yeah. So I included the blood to get into the Mystic Obscura. That way, so it was kind of like a means of like tracking almost. So they could, so that way the Mystic Obscura, which is like a front basically for like, the trafficking of like immortal beings is kind of like what it is. That way they could know like, okay, what are we working with? What kind of like, people, for lack of a better word.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
kind of clientele do we have?
yeah.
So with the whole like, I mean, it's tricky because it's hard to explain how I'm put all the pieces together. But I wanted people to know, readers especially, to realize, okay, the Mystic Obscura seems really cool and amazing and glamorous, but it's actually not, right? It's a front. And then with the like the Undercity, um, that was almost kind of like that was something I added to almost make people think that that was where all the bad things was. It was like a distraction, is like the best
Right.
way to describe it. That's like
Yeah.
the distraction.
Mhm.
And then the king is aware of everything. Like he's working with who he's working with. Yarrick is the mastermind, right? So he's controlling all the pieces. He's um you know, he knows about the Mystic Obscura. He knows what it does. He knows about like the Underdark. He knows like he's like, got the king in his back pocket. Because the king, we've got like the mountains, right, or like the fire rubies and stuff. And so for him, it's all a matter of like, money and wealth and power. So it was like slowly weaving together this like web of deceit, basically, for like lack of a better word. Until I could finally click everything into place. And I think the really rough part is like when Yarrick takes Everinne and is like forcing her to perform. That was difficult to write, but it was like one of those things where like it had to be done because you had to like I needed readers to understand like he's the bad guy. We don't like him. And then with what was her name? Oh, this is like another spoiler. So the her friend, Aisling, she's been MIA from Faven since like the beginning of the book. From the beginning of that series. So people are like, she's alive. I'm like, yeah, she's alive. She's been alive the whole time.
Of course.
She's been like trapped in this,
She's been yeah.
this thing. So it's been my original plan was to make it to where like the and I might still do it. But my original plan was to make it to where like the like they're like ancient gods and goddesses that were like behind it all. And I still might weave them in, but it's basically going to come down to like, Everinne Atlas having to like, like when book 2 is going to open, like it's going to be a hot mess. Everything's going to be like,
Yeah.
not destroyed, but not good.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's hard to explain because there are so many moving parts. But I mean, you're right. It's basically like looking at like pieces on a chessboard and like, okay, what's the next move? How do I get these characters from point A to point B? Because I still need XYZ to happen. And it all kind of like clicked. But Yarrick is he is like the big bad. And I was trying to make it to where it was like kind of obvious, but not really obvious. Because, there's all these other like factors and all these other distractions, right? So
Yeah, yeah. I think that was one of the very kind of enticing parts in creating that tension, because I think as a reader, granted, most of the books that I read within this genre, you get a number of things that are resolved by the end of the book. Even if it is continuing on a series, there might be a bigger plot line, but for the sake of the book, you get a number of things resolved. And
Right.
that's not the case with this book at all.
Not
It
with
just
one, yeah.
sets it up. And so I think that was interesting to read and watch the tension grow within myself, because even like something like the blood situation, there's always a level of like, well, they're gonna solve it. It's fine. They're gonna solve it. And the longer it goes on, and I'm like, oh, this is really bad. They're not solving it. Like, it's not just a quick fix or
Yeah.
like something where someone can just use a power and get over it. It's like, oh
Right,
no,
right.
this is growing and it's a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it so exciting to see the next book as well, because I think that was another thing that I was guessing was I was kind of waiting for Ever to step into her power and like find the bright side of like that's usually a character arc
Right.
that we see with main female characters of like taking back their power. And I was like, oh no, this is not going well. Like, she's not there yet.
She's not there.
You know, so
Yeah, she has a lot to overcome.
yeah.
And she's got a lot to overcome in book 2, but
Yeah.
it's not really that. She will overcome a lot in book 2.
Yeah.
So like that way her growth is going to be like, I'm excited for it. It's going to be phenomenal. But
Yeah.
it was one of those things where I could have maybe eventually made her step into her power, but that might have made the book like a lot longer. So
Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at least she knows that she loves Atlas now and that it's okay. So there's
Yes,
like
exactly.
that one like little shred of hope.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that was a nice part, is like the time that they did have together. And I think that was another piece that stood out to me that I really appreciated, again, in just like creating that tension, was when they did finally come together in his bedroom, I guess literally. That he was like, but because he was still using his power, and he's like, no, then when we do this like for real, like I'm not going to use my power. That's just going to be just me. And I was like,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I feel like that's like another thing, like I feel like I've been so like like this is like the sex fae book, and then there's not, like it doesn't happen in this book. So it's a very slow burn.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, I loved every minute of it. So
I'm so glad.
is there anything that we haven't talked about in regards to specifically Lore of the Wicked Wood that you'd like to?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't think so. I feel like we kind of like covered like all like the bases without giving like too much away.
Right.
But no, I just it's just not unlike anything I've ever, or it's not like anything I've ever written before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know I'm not supposed to say this, I'm not supposed to have favorites, but I'm pretty sure this is probably like my best work to date. I'm really proud of it. Just because it's just very intense and it has so many layers and there's like so much going on. We actually tried to pitch it trad, and they all said no because like there's too much world building. Of course there's a lot of world building because to them this is like a book 1, but for me, this is like the like culmination of like 2 other worlds,
Right. Yeah.
And it's like series number 3. So
yeah. I see.
But it is going to be a duology, and I promise to tie everything up and give them a much deserved happily ever after at the end of book 2.
Okay.
Eventually. They just gotta get to that point.
Yeah. Fair. And you did say at the beginning, right, that you're looking at 2007?
27? Yes.
27? Yeah. I went back in time. Wow. I really missed a number there.
Yeah, probably 2027. Just because I've got 2 books coming out next year.
Yeah.
And so I'll probably like while those are like doing their whole like release day and all that stuff, I'll probably be writing
Yeah.
lore
Okay.
too, which I don't have a
Gotcha.
title for yet, but I'm working on it.
Gotcha. Of course, of course. So what's on the horizon for you as far as publishing next year, as
Mhm.
well as just if there's any like fun bookish events and stuff coming up on your calendar?
Yeah. So I've got so Faven is being produced into audiobooks. They come out Crown of Roses comes out in November, Throne of Dreams is in December, and then Realm of Nightmares and Void of Endings both come out in January.
Mhm.
I have a super secret project that is currently on submission with editors for a trial deal, so we'll see how that goes. If by chance they're like not into it, that's fine. I'll publish it myself because I'm obsessed with the story. It's so cute.
Okay.
And event-wise, I've got a Polycon in April,
Mhm.
Midwest Bookish Fest in June, Romantasy in the Valley in July, and then Books, Gowns, and Crowns in September. And I think that's it right now. I think.
Gotcha.
I'll probably do a lot more like local events because the one I did like last weekend was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's like literally like in my hometown. It's like 10 minutes down the street from my house. That was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to
Of course,
chat with me.
yeah.
It was so nice to catch up. And yeah, I'm gonna go do some homework, catch up on all the books. I will message you as I start to connect all the dots. And I'm very excited to continue to see what you have coming out.
Thank you. I love talking with you, so it was fun.
Absolutely. If you've made it to this point in the episode, thank you so much for watching. I'd be incredibly grateful if you showed some support either by following or subscribing, depending on what platform you're watching on, and leaving a comment. You can always follow me on Instagram at busyreadingromantasy or on TikTok at busy.reading.romantasy to see what I'm up to. You can also email me at busyreadingromantasy@gmail.com to tell me your thoughts, dreams, secrets, or if you just have any book and author suggestions you'd love me to cover. Grab yourself a good book, get cozy. I'll see you next Wednesday for a new episode.